$10 table is where you educate yourself to do better. I believe the business is life. So if you're doing good in business, probably you're doing good in life. But if you're not doing good in life, you can't do good in business. We here with GR, and he will tell us a lot about it. So thank you so much for being here, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
That's an honor for us. So we want to know who GR. We all know that we see the glory, but we don't know the story yet.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of images, but background, overcoming trauma, overcoming obstacles in life in order to make it to a place to be successful. There's
Right.
a lot to talk about.
So how you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm JR. I'm originally from New Orleans. I am a personal injury attorney, nationwide personal injury attorney. I was raised in New Orleans in the late 80s, early 90s. I grew up here. My mother was a heroin addict. She originally was a burlesque dancer on Bourbon Street back in the, early to late 70s. So she was a beautiful brunette, blue eyes. But of course, like most people did back then, she experimented with drugs and lived on heroin. And so I was raised in some not so friendly neighborhoods, but I became who I am because of that. So I grew up in the California projects in the Warways, and worked my way through the streets. At 16, I had 2 gold teeth and 2 felonies.
Wow. And how one that's like what feels like to grow up in that place and to have all this experience.
So I always say when people ask me about what's it like growing up in the Netherlands, New Orleans doesn't have racial boundaries. They have government boundaries. Yeah. And so it doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, whatever your race, religion, you grow up together on a stroke. So growing up in New Orleans then, hard milk, powdered eggs, canned peanut butter, we all were fighting to just live. And, even though I was kind of the only white kids growing up where I grew up, it didn't feel like that. They didn't treat it at Cranberry, though. My mother wasn't there, and they were black women who raised me. They treated me like I was one of their own.
Right.
So my culture comes from the culture of England.
That's powerful. I heard that it causes trauma, right? Because of trauma. And it's not easy because I believe everybody has trauma. There's just some people that were lost to release it and to overcome it and to become like the best version of themselves. And some people, they don't even aware of it. So they just experience it every day and hurt themselves and people around them every day because they don't know what's going on. So how trauma was affecting their life and what you did to release it?
Great question and a great point. I think we don't know what mental health means to us until we're at a breaking point. So 10 years. We don't really need help, especially as men. Our ego doesn't want us to be weak, doesn't want us to be fast. He might not that. We challenge that, but we're like, no, we better. Right? I can handle it. I got it. So for me, trauma started, my mother was a heroin addict. There's no more traumatic moment than walking in when my mother passed out, kind of needle of her arm, and you have to wake her up, and she says, Jeremy, walk with me, keep me awake so I don't die. When I was a child, many, many times over. And then losing my mother at 19, though. No other family, just me and her at her casket, and passing away at 19. And it created this level of like, I've got to make her cry. Even though we could feel this with a God was taking me through so much in my life, not living in a house, never having my own limb, always going from neighborhood to neighborhood, or house to house, living with one of her jamans for months. What I did with the trauma is I just believed.
I'm so proud of you, Scott.
I just kept believing that if I kept moving forward, if I could just endure one more day, if I can endure one more day through what I'm going through, then I could be something better. And so when I talk about channeling trauma now, you can either take trauma and let it work against you, or you can take it and use it as motivation to remind you where you never want to go back to it.
Right. Right.
Use it to build you to a successful place. I mean, give you the motivation to keep pushing.
Like the how,
The how.
because I believe,
Yeah.
I believe that it's people already willing to do it, yeah, but they don't know how, they don't have like maybe the why you have, you want to make her proud, definitely. And this is so they understood that's the purpose. So like how people do you think they able to figure out a way to get there?
Well, thank you for scratching the surface and then deeper level, right? Because I think it's easy to just say, well, I was able to do this. I think internally, you have to find within your heart, where do you want to be? What is your purpose? Because sometimes, number one, pray is important. Number two, manifesting positive outcomes on where you want to be. And I was a kid and I had 2 felonies against me. I just remember thinking of things that I was intrigued by. I used to watch Matlock as a kid. It's this older white gentleman who was a lawyer, and he had this crafty way of figuring things out.
Okay.
And then I remember my mother was telling me that my grandfather wanted to be an attorney. And so these things like kind of just, they came together. It was like, you know what? I'm going to set my goals way up there. And I just kept striving for her. And so to answer your question, it takes a lot of introspect on where you are in your life and where you want to go. You know what? Set the highest level. But to answer the why and the how, it has to start with the manifestation of wanting something different for your life. That's number one. Right. Number two is not giving power to trauma that will set you, but use it as motivation to spring you forward.
Mm.
And then number three, once you've determined the purpose for your life, as far as where you want to go, set the goals and work backwards, right? If my highest goal is to go to law school and I was 16 and I got 2 felonies, number one, I got to go to college.
All right.
How am I going to get there?
All right.
Got my GED in juvenile jail. Got out, tested right into college level courses. And then from there, my mother passed away, and it just gave me another motivation. Every time I went into a traumatic event, it motivated me going to the farm.
Right.
And so the how and the why has to start with very specific plan. Figure out what the purpose is, where you want to go, set the goals, work backwards. And then every time you accomplish one of those goals, you have to celebrate even the smallest goals.
Right.
Hey, I got my GED. Hey, I got it in college. Hey, I graduated from college. I'll tell you, there's a moment when I walked across the stage and I got my Juris Doctorate and I graduated from law school. And it was a Supreme Court justice, and he was holding my diploma. And the magnitude of the moment was so overwhelming to me that I was 12. I was crying, like, there's no tomorrow. He said, son, what's wrong? It's supposed to be a happy moment. I said, it is. I just don't know how far I've come just to walk to get this diploma. So also be humble in your journey.
All right. But a lot of respect.
Be humble in your journey and use that humbleness to remind you where you came from and learning about to. Learning.
This is a really powerful, and it's the point you mentioned. I think every man needs to know about, and especially I feel like man's today, they don't know themselves.
Yeah.
Like they don't know who they are. They don't know why they're here. They always have it's a victim story. They put it on the government, the city, the culture, the colors, as you just say, the parents, and they always think this is how it is. And it takes courage, though. It takes courage to know you, like to sit down with you, because I think a lot of men struggling by even like accept to be by themselves, which is like praying sometimes, like who I am by myself, like what I do, like who is it this, like what how I act with me, like how I treat me, because it's how we treat people. Like we're not mad of people, we mad of ourselves. But we experience it, like we just put it out there on people. And I really appreciate that of you to do it, because as I say, it takes so much courage to do it. And so you become the lawyer and you made it. And I think that's when you start maybe the second journey of your life, which is, practicing that. Like as an attorney in the United States, I know it's something that's great to be. But also there is a successful lawyers and there is unsuccessful lawyers, Those lawyers who already still like trying to look for somebody needs their service, And there is lawyers, he's like, you're kind of come next month because you but so what the difference? Like what makes the difference between a successful and unsuccessful lawyer?
Well, I think first and foremost, it starts with you, back to the point of what I said. And you realize who you are and you truly capture that, right? God picks us. God picks the people that bear through the race to be the best seeds of, right? And so, and you have the ability to touch people, and people can trust you as a person based on your character, your thoughts, your the way you walk, the way you greet people, the way you give energy.
Right.
People are drawn to that.
Right.
So to what you said earlier, that it takes a lot as a man to give another man encouragement and spread love and energy. And that's all I've ever done. I think my success is derived from my ability to approach people, my discernment and understanding of what people are going through, and being able to be empathetic to that. And then when you have a level of understanding for what people may be going through, you can greet them with open arms. We can greet them with love. You can greet them, right? Hey, I may not be able to understand the pain, but I can help you find a way to get to a better place.
True.
So that's kind of the intrinsic aspect of how I became successful. But the more purposeful is my drive, our work ethic is just, it's crazy because I'm constantly, every year, and I was just having this conversation the other day, a good friend of mine, and every year I reinvent myself. What can I do better that I didn't do good at, or that I can do great at next year? How do I reinvent myself? It takes a lot of constructive criticism. It takes a lot of introspect. It takes a lot of, you know what? I did good, but I can do better. And I hate to say it, I think real successful people are never satisfied, or because their engine is on the go. And the last thing I'll say is you have to have a short memory, because winners don't focus on, they focus on getting to success. And how do I magnify it? I don't focus on failure. I don't focus on the negativity that happened, right? We talk about trauma. You get consumed by the negativity, you can never focus on success. So winners have a very short memory that place to fit.
That's powerful, man. And I think also like, yeah, it's like to know yourself, as you just right now mentioned, and to push yourself to the next level and to be like self-motivated in life, and to agree, like to accept that, okay, listen, I did good where I can do better there. I think it's I call you a leader, brother. This is what a leader does, I think. And that's when a lot I say, for me, I always like see every man has a leader within, but they struggle with getting out.
Sure.
I mean, if I want to do better in my language, I want to do better in my, as you said, in the way I walk, the way I talk, the way I eat, the way I smell. Like all this makes you the version that you're already manifesting in life. And I know that you have a background of being a great lawyer, though, but you don't have a background of being a great businessman. But you are a great businessman because you manifest a great achievement. You did the great, and you inspire me, and I really like what you do. Then, so how? Because I mean, right now when I work with a lot of business owners, as I told you, we do have a marketing agency. Personally, I feel like they really don't need marketing. They more need to understand what business is. They have been too long in business. They're spending so much money that unnecessary to spend, expenses that has nothing to do with their business. And they're doing the best, but they are not the most known. Because in my perspective, in business, you have to be the most known. It doesn't mean you have to be only the best.
Sure.
So that's when I jump in as a marketer guy. I'm like, listen, I'm doing marketing, but if you stop this one, we don't need it, you know? And then I can see that this business owner, he doesn't have a background of business. He never studied business. He just decided to open a business, goes with a vision, but he never educates himself about it. So where you get all this knowledge of business, what successful business looks like to you?
So after I got my GED and GED, I went to Delgado Community College here in New Orleans. Tested right at the college level, for instance. I was already 1 year finished with 1 year into college when my high school class graduated. That's crazy how dynamic works. I went through trauma, went to jail, got my GED, and now I'm ahead of my peers. Then I joined the Marine Corps. So I'm a retired combat Marine. The Marine Corps taught me the discipline that I needed. It also taught me that we should be able to do more with less. So if you're not efficient in your business, if you're not looking at ways to cut out waste or finding a way to make things more easier for your team, I want to do 1,000% more with less. Right. You cut out that waste, you find out, then you become process disciplined. To your point, you said earlier, you said most people don't understand business. Well, that's the first part about it. You've got to understand everything from the lowest end, from taking the phone call to getting the check. Right. There's a big gap. And once you understand the process from A to Z, now you remove the constraints. Where am I spending too much time in this area, but it's not producing an efficient output, right? If the goal is revenue, well, where am I spending the most time at that's not giving me revenue? How can I fix that constraint and make it more efficient so that my team can get more done, so that my revenue, my numbers, right? For this, you can have the greatest marketing in the world, but you could be leaving a lot of money out on the table because you're not efficient. You may hire a huge team that only takes all your overhead away and you have no profit. So you've got to look at your process, whatever that business is. I'm an attorney. I do personal injury now. I did criminal defense. I did father's rights, family law. Now as a personal injury attorney, it's all process. It's all process. It is strictly A to Z, phone call, cut the check, or phone call, go to trial. Right. In any other business, I imagine the same thing, whether you're hiring people to do labor or you're hiring people to deliver an outcome. How can you do it and be successful? Streamline it, cut out the constraints. So to answer your question, sorry, that was a long way.
No, that's amazing, because that's how we have to understand this, you know?
You have to, because you've got to understand it from the lowest level person, and everybody. You got to also, what I've learned in the military is you're only as strong as your weakest link. Everybody has to play a role in your success. The other part of that is you have to learn how to delegate. You have to learn to be a boss and not a manager and not a worker. You've got to learn how to separate. Once you learn to be a boss, now you have to learn how to be an owner. You have to learn how to really grow your business. We got too many people who have great business ideas and great businesses that they overwhelm themselves with not teaching their team how to be them. When you teach your team how to be you, they can do things in your absence that continues the business to it. If people are waiting for you to make a decision or they're waiting for you to do something, it means you haven't put trust and empowered your team, right, to do things in your absence. It's powerful. So I like to create successful teams, and that's how I believe I've been successful, because the military taught me to be process disciplined and also to the power of the team.
That's great. I mean, honestly, you open it, because one time my mentor told me, if you're going to go fast, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, we have to go together. You have to go with a team.
That's right.
And now listening, like you mentioned the team many times, and like how important team for a business owner and expected.
And team is everything. And to all my entrepreneurs out there, the most difficult thing I know everybody would understand is hiring the right people. Right. It's by far is the most difficult thing. But when you have a high level of discernment, or you have a high level of reading people, which I tend to have, and I think because of my unique background and all the stages I've gone through, I trust but verify. Right? You start off with finding someone that you're going to interview them, you're going to ask them questions. There are things that you're going to learn about the personality. You need to know that they're the right fit with your team. You don't want to throw off the energy of your team. Right. But I don't micromanage. I trust and verify until I have built a strong enough relationship with that team member, and then I start to empower. Because I'm of the belief I'm a positive person. I don't think pessimistic. I think, you know what? I won't encourage you to win until you show me otherwise. So if the positive outcome approach is better, which it has been for me, it works in building my team. I also identify with what's their motivation. It's got to be the first thing you want to know about a team member. What is your motivation? Where do you want to be in? I don't want you here if I'm a pit stop.
Right.
If I can help you grow, and you're willing to be a part of my team for 1, 2, 3 years, then I absolutely go in on my team. But what's your motivation? Is it security, longevity in a successful business? And then I need to know what their dynamic is at home. All right. I can't ask those questions legally because you just can't do that in America. But you get to know people over time. And once I know what their motivation is, I thrive on that. And I use that to encourage them to do more. Do you want money? Hey, look, you know what? I'll put an incentive out there for you, but you got to commit to me that you're going to give me another 10%. So that's how I really build my team. And sometimes, look, don't be afraid to fire somebody. Do not be afraid to fire somebody. Everybody is not a leadership challenge. They could just be taking energy away from you and your team.
True. And I think, one time I think we have to trust those people. That's right. Because also one time I heard a wise man say, if you don't love yourself, you can't love people. Mm. But if you don't trust people, you can't trust yourself.
Sure.
And that's really because personally, I had a really hard time before to trust people. Because as you say, our background built our personality, and our personality is our personal reality, And that's, why I'm not able to trust people. And it comes from who I am, because the way I built myself up, in the past, I wasn't that trustworthy person. So I have to overcome myself to be able to give that people the respect and also the trust you've given. Man, this is really powerful. And I love the gem you've given out. So money, we make a lot of money, right? And that's a blessing. And I know there is people struggling to make money, and there's people, they have it as abundance, right? Because as I'm watching you, I'm following you on Instagram, you believe everything is energy, right?
That's right.
So
we don't understand.
Right. Everything is energy. So first, what money means to you today?
Want to answer that, but I'm going to go back to your part about trust. I would encourage all men and women to get there. Right? Therapy will connection even deeper with some of the things that you need to learn. And you said it was hard for you to trust people, probably because you felt a little bit of abandonment in your life. Right? I felt that. I've had to overcome that. How can I trust it? I can only trust me. But in order to be successful, you have to trust me. So I felt a pull in me when you mentioned that it's hard to trust people because I bet you that is winning. But so eventually you have to think positive and say, you know what? I'm not going to let my past stop me from believing that people are cool. So what does money mean to me? Money means to me being able to touch more people, getting to a bigger platform where I can speak life into people. Of course, I'm going to live the best life that I could live. I'm healthy. I'm going to be mentally and spiritually healthy, but also going to use the gift that God gave me. And all of the material things, they're great and all, but they're just a reminder of what I never had as a kid. So now, the platform for me, having money gives me the ability to touch more people. And so money just means being able to give the gift that God gave me and touch more people. That's it. Money doesn't make me. I can lose it all and I'll get it all again.
That's powerful. That's really great. And you mentioned the positivity, and one time I was driving the taxi, as I told you. So I had two things.
I drove the taxi too.
Ready?
I drove from.
Yeah, that's powerful. So that's what it came. I have no options. I did the restaurant and I want to know the city. I want to speak English. So I want to learn. And I'm the taxi could be a great way. So on the taxi, I have two rules, right? One is I have to listen to something all the time, which is a podcast or a book.
Okay.
The second one is I have to attract and what I want in there. So I'm challenging myself, right? So Aaron Manigail, I was listening to a guy called Aaron Manigail. He's an old podcaster, and he's like, I think he's a friend of Think and Grow Rich author, which is like Napoleon Hill.
Okay, yep.
So what he said, and at that time, he said that the secret of success is the positive mental attitude. If you was able to live and operate on a positive mental attitude, everything in life would change. I'm like, man, I really need to hear that again. And then he said the second secret is we become what we think about most of the time. Right? I'm like, yo, so what I have to do now, I have to think of what I want most of the time, plus I have to match it in the frequency. I have to harmonize with my goal, because if my goal like higher than me in energy, I can't reach it. And if I am like, on the lowest frequency, I will always be low frequency people, situation, and outcome. So I'm here in New Orleans for 8 years now, so I know it's difficult, man. I mean, for me, it's difficult. Like, I moved to Miami in 3 years. I made things I never made it here, because it's so much challenging there. So much real people want to make it, and they have one thing is I want to be better. I'm better, right? As you said, the man always have this. So how you overcome this, with all of our respect, the culture, the Big Easy is called Big Easy. So you come here, you lay back, and go make it. Yes. So how you become that, and where you came from, the positive mental attitude that you're sharing today with life and with us today?
So the way I was raised in New Orleans is you greet everybody. Come in the room, it's good morning, good evening, good night. We leave the room, we greet.
Yeah.
So I think I learned that very early on, that giving energy to people, you get energy back. The positive mental aspect came from just accepting that, look, I'm going to be better than where I am. Like you said, I wanted to be in a better place, so I had to think myself in. I had to willpower myself through it and to it. Because I saw your blog where a gentleman said, never give up on you. Never give up on you.
Right.
But to make it out of a murder capital of the world, I was coming to these streets, and it was really, really violent. People were dying every day. It's still going on here in New Orleans to a certain extent. Not as bad, because the neighborhoods have changed a bit. Mm-hmm. But I always treated people with respect. Of course, you got to stand your ground and stand your principles, and protect yourself, but also protect your energy. So, and making it out of here or to become successful somewhere else, I think it just came from my upbringing. And that was where people showing me love and respect, I owe it to the world to give it back to them. And you earn the respect of people. Sometimes, I'll give you an example. I'll come into a room where I'm the only white man, and there'll be people that are receptive to me. There'll be people who are standoffish. But as soon as I be feeling the energy, hey man, how you doing, man? You guys are amazing. It changes their perspective right away. Now they want to greet me with the same humor.
Right.
See, what you give to people, sometimes you don't even realize they need it more than you're not.
True. And that's I respect you, man, for doing that, because I think also it takes a little education, like just to know what people need. Because if you think always about yourself, it's going to be so hard to understand people and give them what they want. And as a lawyer, I mean, it's a great, you know what to say. And this is a question I always ask people, how lawyers think.
Okay. How do lawyers think?
Right. How you think?
So it's always chess, not checkers. Yeah. Right? I'm always thinking, what's the best positive outcome? How do I get there? I'm also thinking, I'm listening to process instead of listening to the spot. And when you listen to process, you're listening to what a person is asking or saying to you, and you're trying to understand and empathize with what they have going on. Whether that's in a combative state where I'm with an opposing attorney who's talking to me about something, or I'm with the client who has an issue that I'm trying to provide a resolution for. And you listen to the process, you're almost finding the energy wavelength that that person is on, and you're finding a way to match that wavelength. So my greatest thinking as an attorney is, how can I match this energy, but how can I bring a positive outcome to it? So even if, I'll give you an example. When I did criminal defense, I would come into a courtroom and these prosecutors, they're overworked, they underpaid, overworked. They get yelled at and screamed at by defense attorneys. I come in and read and say, good morning. I'm sure you are having an incredible day. You're probably busy as all get out, but I just want to tell you, I appreciate you for what you do. Right. Imagine that. A criminal defense attorney coming to a prosecutor and saying, I appreciate you for what you do. The difference is I didn't have to take on my client's persona, because the reality is if I treat people with respect, I'm going to get an even better desired outcome. And so if I can go to a prosecutor and say, hey, look, I know this is probably what you want. You want to throw my client in jail, right? Well, a win is if I know that I can't get my client to win procedurally, and I know there's enough evidence against him, then the challenge for me is to find a way to get the most positive outcome. Most times, that's going to a prosecutor, right? Encouraging them on what they do, but giving them an alternative answer. Okay. So coming back to your psychologist, complete psychologist, bringing yourself to their wavelength. What are they going to? What's their energy? They got to win. Their job is to hold people accountable. Okay. Well, same thing with my client. My client is going through something. How do I get to the wavelength of making them understand, I understand what they're going through, but then bringing them to a positive desired outcome? Same thing in business, right? What are we doing? We're feeding people either a product that they want to bring a desired outcome, or we're feeding them some type of service. So my way of thinking is, how do I get on the wavelength of the other person? And then how do I deliver a positive goal or positive outcome? Always chest and watch.
That's powerful, man. I believe because my next question would be what business in your perspective?
What kind of businesses are in my perspective?
What business means in your perspective?
Well, I think business is about relationships. You can have a successful business and have no heart in it.
Right.
You can have a process that delivers great results, right? You can just sell a product and have no relationship to it.
Right.
I believe really successful businesses are created by relationships.
True.
And what you pour into the business, right? I'm the face of the JR Law Group. You get hit by a truck or a car, call JR, right? And then I meet clients all the time, all over the world, and they'll see me out to, hey, JR, I come up, shake their hand, man, what's going on? So business to me is building relationships and finding a way to be successful in growing that business through those relationships. Right? They say network is your net worth. This is true, but I don't see it that way. I see the more people you touch positively, the more success you're going to have in business.
That's powerful. That's really great. And one time, I agree with that. One time I meant to say, you would be the amount of money you will have in this life equals the amount of people you will bless or help in this life. And that's really great. So, man, it's amazing. And I want to just, before we finish, I have to ask you, because in the beginning, we talk about the ego of man.
Both.
Ego of man is and the meaning of ego is each God out. That's what is goes for. We have no God in this situation. And it's a lot, it's a lot of, firstly, I should go with that as well. And, a relationship and business, with the clients, with yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
And especially when you mentioned accepting help as a man or even as a man today. So, in your perspective, what the outcome or what the process of a man to maybe organize his ego first, and then he can overcome it or at least keep it in control?
That's a great point. Number one, ego is the root of all failure.
Right.
It's the root of all sin.
Right.
When you allow your inner self to prevent you from becoming them. I tell my team all the time, I think my team would agree, I am the best at taking constructive criticism. I might have learned that in the military, probably just accepted that growing up in New Orleans. Constructive criticism, it's how you listen to it, right? If you came to me and said, JR, I think what you did in this situation was horrible, then I'll ask questions to say, when it comes to ego, if we want to be successful, we've got to be able to accept that we're not perfect. We got to accept that our failures are our greatest ability to be successful, because a failure is the next step to success. So even deeper, right? That's the surface level. The deeper level, ego as a man. Listen, we're going to always be challenged. We're going to always be challenged. We're going to always be put in a place where maybe we didn't live up to a certain expectation that we have. We got to show yourself grace, right? You got to show yourself grace. You've got to be able to say, you know what? First, acknowledge that you made a mistake or you didn't meet the goal. Then after that, you got to say, you know what? That's okay. Then bounce back from this. Don't let your ego hold you back from acknowledging where you failed. Right? Times your ego will keep you from, like you said, oh, the man stopped me. Oh, the government stopped me. Oh, somebody else did something. No, the only thing that you can control is you. Right. And if you want to be powerful, you have to accept that you are perfect. And when people give you feedback, take it, listen to it. Whether you want to immediately acknowledge that to a person, at least take it, use some introspect and say, wow, I really took something away from that conversation. I mean, you know what? I can do better. I think there was men, we're not taught to identify weakness. So we always have to be strong. You can be strong by accepting your weakness. You can find power in failure. But if you have an ego that prevents you, then you're getting in your own way. And sometimes you have to say, I ask myself every day, when I am getting ready to respond to something, is that my ego talking? Okay, wait a minute. So my new theory is I won't immediately respond to something. I take a moment, I process it, and I said, my ego would have done this, but my winning ways will bring me here. Yes, God is in you. That's right. God is in you. Sorry. You asked me therapy. Listen, I think every man in the world needs therapy. I think some of us don't come from having fathers around. I didn't have a father. My mother was the same parent. I didn't have positive male role models. I had to learn how to be a successful or be a good dad. True. Later on in life, going through therapy, it opened up so much about me that I've carried from the past, and that I've been able to heal from, and will help other people. And I encourage people to get therapy because it'll just make you a more positive person. If you walk around every day with this positive force field, there's nothing that can bring you negativity. It's not that you are not aware of things that happen. It's not that you're not going to take accountability for your failures. It's that we're not promised tomorrow. So if we're not living to be happy every day, then we're not living. So ego is the greatest failure ever. It can be good if you are encouraging yourself to do better. But
That's right.
I mean,
And honestly, like, just to go back to what you just said, in a way that people don't see the failure as the another face of the success. Because General one time said, difficulty mixed with opportunities.
absolutely.
And like in the most difficult time in history, made the most success in history. And people, when they make from 0 to milli, they goes in when the crash happened, in the market was crashed, And there is people go from the top to the bottom because also, it's education. But also the other part, yeah, man, this is, I think, as a therapy or a life coach, it's already needed, because even sometimes, even if we have a parents and we have both of them, and they don't have the outcome that we are after, it's going to be difficult for us to be educated about it. As you said, knowledge is power. So we have people watching you right now, right? Before you give them your advice, or I want you to like just a motivational word from you for them to pick themselves up and to start moving. How people can reach you? What is your Instagram, your phone number, please, and the book if you want to order your book.
Yeah. So Jeremy Robinson CEO at Jeremy Robinson CEO is my Instagram. At the JR Law Board, these are my businesses. The office number is 770-989-1072. And my book, which is called Endure, The Anatomy of Resilience, can be purchased from Instagram. There's in the bio, you can click on it. It'll take you to a landing page. There's also the audio book that's out in all platforms, on Audible, Amazon. My inspirational message to people would be to never give up on music, to believe yourself through everything. Your moments in life, your trauma, does not define where you're going. It should merely be a stepping stone to remind you of where you never want to go back to. So stay focused on the positive and use that introspect. Reinvent yourself. Constantly challenge yourself to do better. And I know that sounds, very surface level, but internally, have a conversation with you about it. Accept where you didn't meet the mark and challenge yourself to do better. And you always be humble about it.
That's powerful, man. Thank you so much for giving us time. You're already great. Sir. Thank you a lot. And as you said, you really have to believe in it. If you don't believe in you, nobody going to do that. And you are the project, you are the product, you are the business. And if you work on you, if you love you, if you take care of you, you really will do a lot better than who you are. And again, $1 billion table is to educate us to do better and to have better. I remember that God first. And I will see you at the top. Let's go.